At the party for my son's 1-month celebration, my wife overheard that her first love had just gotten a divorce. She got drunk right there at the table and insisted she was going to drive over 1,000 kilometers overnight to go and get him. He still loves me, David. He has nothing left. He's waiting for me. I tried to hold back my own tears, my stomach twisting. And I called her parents. I told them I thought we needed to get a divorce. That night she didn't end up going, but the next day, she saw a post on social media showing that her first love had apparently slit his wrists. She completely lost her mind. She started dangling our son, our newborn, over the balcony. "David, I'll make you feel the pain of losing the one you love." I lunged forward, desperate to grab our son, but she pushed us both off the edge of the building. The moment we hit the ground, with a feeling I can't even describe, I was suddenly back at the 1-month celebration, holding my son again. This time, I decided to let her chase her great love. She ended up disabled, died a miserable death, and in the end, she couldn't even go crazy anymore. With the banquet winding down, my wife, Sarah, and I were busy saying goodbye to the last of our guests. Only her old classmates were still sitting at a table, drinking and gossiping. "Hey, I've got news. Mark got divorced today." "You all didn't know, right? Didn't he marry into that rich family? How did he suddenly end up divorced?" "It was all for show. He was just a kept man, living off her family. Serves him right." "If he'd married Sarah, would he be in this mess today? Back then, everyone thought they'd go from their school uniforms straight to their wedding gowns. Who didn't envy Sarah back in the day?" I swayed on my feet, clutching my son, the son I had almost lost just moments ago. Or had I? The weightless, terrifying feeling of falling from the building had left my legs weak and trembling. But Sarah was completely caught up in those words, and she didn't notice how pale or unsteady I was. "David, you take the baby home first. I'm going to chat with them for a little while longer." Before I could even answer, she had casually walked over to their table. "Were you guys just talking about Mark? What's going on with him?" I went home ahead of her. I sat down at my desk and drafted a divorce agreement, and then I just waited. After dark, just as I expected, Sarah was escorted back home, semi-drunk. She rushed over to me. "David, I'm so sorry." Then she grabbed her car keys from the hook by the door and started staggering outside. I snatched the keys from her hand and asked where she was going. She tried to pretend she was just tipsy, slurring her words. "I'm going to find Mark. He still loves me, and he's waiting for me." When we were dating, Sarah had never once mentioned Mark. She had sworn to me that I was the only one. I'd heard about their past from other people, and it had always made me feel a little uneasy, but she had proven in countless ways that they were never in contact. She would hold an umbrella over me when it rained. She'd make soup for me when I was sick. She would instinctively shield me from any perceived danger. When I was with her through her entire pregnancy and the childbirth, she had shown me nothing but immense care. I truly believed our love was mutual. All our colleagues and our families praised her as an exceptional wife. So in that other life, that vision, that nightmare, hearing her words had left me shocked and completely heartbroken. Hysterical, even. I had taken the keys and locked the door, and a flood of questions had poured out of me. Why? When did our love disappear? She had flung her phone at me, showing me all the proof of Mark's supposed love, begging me to let her go. "I need to find Mark. He's waiting for me. He has no family, no friends, nothing. He just has me." My mind had been a total mess, my heart feeling like it was being eaten alive by ants. I had called Sarah's parents, who lived in the same neighborhood. In their presence, I had told Sarah, "You can go, but you have to sign the divorce papers first." Her mother had slapped her and cursed her. Her father had thrown a basin of cold water in her face. She just took all of it silently, standing there like she had no soul. The next day, after she was sober, she had promised to make things right with me, and she coaxed her parents into leaving. Then, while I was in the kitchen making formula for the baby, she had grabbed our son and rushed to the balcony. "David, Mark slashed his wrists this morning. Are you happy now?" Sarah's eyes were bloodshot, and her smile was cruel. She held our son over the edge, his tiny body dangling in the air. Terrified, I had run toward her, too scared to confront her anger directly. "Mark cut his wrists? If he told you about it, he must not be dead yet. Go find him. Just give me back the baby." Our son's face had turned purple, and he was whimpering like a small kitten. Sarah had shouted at me, completely deranged. "He cut his wrists! Didn't you get it? This is all your fault. David, I'll make you feel what it's like to lose your love." She had lifted him higher, flaunting him in front of me. I had leaped forward to grab him back, but she pushed me off the building along with him. "In such a rush? Let's both go redeem ourselves with Mark." I fell rapidly, unable to grasp my son, but just as we were about to land, we were suddenly back at the celebration. Thank goodness, whatever that was, it wasn't too late. This time I would let them be together. I'd just see if she could survive with nothing but love. Death is nothing. Living like hell is much, much worse. "David, open the door! Give me the car keys! Don't make me hurt you!" Sarah's yelling snapped me back to the present. I didn't call her parents, not like before. Instead, I turned to the small surveillance camera in our living room, one we'd set up as a baby monitor, and turned it on before she came in. Then, I started my tearful performance. I held on to her, tears streaming down my face, listening to her profess all her deep feelings for Mark. I asked her, heartbroken, "So what am I to you? What were we? Did you ever love me?" She hesitated. "Don't ask. I don't know." Then she shakily handed me her phone. "All I know is that Mark needs me." My hands were trembling as I opened her phone. I used my birthday to unlock it. Her screen was still lingering on Mark's most recent post. "I have nothing left, just memories. I have a dream that the girl who promised me a home arrives with roses to pick me up. But it's just a dream. There's nothing here worth staying for." I took a screenshot of Mark's post, ready to disentangle myself from this. Resolutely, I presented her with 2 agreements I had printed. I hugged her firmly. "I'm worth less than Mark? Fine. Let's get a divorce. You agree that the house, the car, the child, the business, and all our savings are all mine, and I'll let you leave." She grabbed the papers from me immediately, not even looking at them. She quickly signed the divorce agreement and the equity transfer agreement. I pressed my fingerprint down next to hers. Then she threw the papers back at me, asking, "Is that enough?" The papers scattered everywhere as our son started crying loudly in the nanny's arms. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for my car keys and my phone, intending to lock the door. She yanked my shirt impatiently, snatched everything away from me, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I collapsed onto the floor. My hand landed on a shattered water glass she had smashed earlier, and blood began oozing out of my palm. I felt completely broken, and I started crying out loud. Rosa, our nanny, sighed. She set our son down in his bassinet and knelt beside me. "David, let me see your wound." Holding my son, I just felt lost, and my blood was smearing everywhere. Rosa could only help by gathering the scattered documents from the floor and handing me my phone. She asked, "Sarah's parents live nearby. Should I call them?" With the phone in my hand, I frantically dialed Sarah's number over and over, but all I got was a busy tone and a red exclamation mark. Did she block me? Is she really this heartless? I glanced at the agreements Rosa was holding. Then, like a madman, I shoved my baby into her arms, grabbed the agreements, and rushed to lock them in the safe in my office. I heard Rosa making calls in the living room, notifying my in-laws. I tugged at my hair and texted my lawyer buddy, Alex. Agreement signed. Her parents are on their way. Alex texted back immediately. Handle the company equity transfer first. Divorce. Proceedings take longer. You better push for a divorce registration as soon as possible. Delete this after reading. Call me. I didn't reply, but I deleted the messages. Rosa's voice came from outside the office. David, please come out and let me bandage your wound. I called Sarah's parents. They're on their way. I rose slowly, as if I were in a trance, and opened the door, letting Rosa lead me back into the living room, right under the security camera's watch. She helped clean and bandage my hand before I called Alex. I broke down crying on the phone. Alex, Sarah doesn't want me or our baby. What am I supposed to do? Alex was outraged. What? Where is she? I left some documents at your place a while back. I'm on my way to get them. Just hang in there. The doorbell rang just as he said it. My in-laws had arrived. They were alarmed by the glass shards all over the floor and the bloodstains on me and my son. Is the baby hurt? Let me see, they exclaimed. What happened here? Where's Sarah? Rosa, as an observer, explained the situation. Feeling she wasn't being dramatic enough, I handed my in-laws my phone, sobbing. Dad, Mom, Sarah lost it after she saw Mark's post. She insisted on driving to find him. I called her so many times, but she didn't answer. She even blocked me. Just check the security footage. She's so ruthless. Upon seeing Mark's post and Sarah's drunken state on the camera footage, my father-in-law fumed. Is she possessed? Don't worry, David. I'll break her legs myself when I see her. My mother-in-law was just worried for her daughter. Drunk and unstable, listening to that vixen, and driving? It's so late. What if something happens? Something was definitely happening. A mere DUI wouldn't be enough for her. I clutched my mother-in-law's hand anxiously. Mom, what do we do? The car has an ETC tag, so there are no checkpoints at the tolls. She might already be on the highway. My in-laws panicked, calling and messaging her desperately. At first, Sarah ignored all of them. My father-in-law angrily messaged her non-stop. They were determined to keep calling until Sarah finally picked up. The doorbell rang again. Alex had arrived. I collapsed into his arms, crying real tears this time. The terror of feeling like I was falling, of losing my son, was overwhelming. I let myself be as fragile as a rag doll. Alex, looking grim, pressured my in-laws. I'm sorry to be rude, but if Sarah doesn't return tonight, these agreements are going into effect. Desperation made them comply. All right, don't worry, David, we'll get her back to make amends. With time passing, their endless calls finally got a response. Sarah's voice came through the speakerphone. Dad, Mom, I'll talk when I get back. I'm on the highway. Her words were slurred and unclear. It was hard to tell if she was getting drunker or just sleepy. My in-laws yelled at her. Pull over to the emergency lane or a service area and call the police. Yes, stop driving and send us your location. Sarah suddenly screamed. It's your fault. You disapproved of Mark because of his family's situation. I had to marry far away. This time, no one can stop me. She seemed briefly lucid, and then the engine roared again. Before they could plead with her further, a loud crash echoed from her end of the line. It was followed by more metallic collisions. Sarah! Sarah! My in-laws shouted, but their calls were just cut off by static. The crash sounded significant, suggesting a real accident. What a shame. Tomorrow, Mark's wrist-cutting scene might miss its best audience. The room was in chaos. My mother-in-law swallowed some blood pressure and nitroglycerin pills. My father-in-law was frantic. I nudged Alex, then dramatically fainted into his arms. He played along, shouting, David! Wake up! Now's not the time. Sarah's condition is still unknown. After a moment, the pain in my hand brought me around. I gasped, tears streaming down my face. Dad. Mom. Sarah. She... Before I could finish, my phone rang. The caller identified himself as a traffic officer, asking for the family to head to the city hospital. The vehicle was badly damaged, rescuers were helping the injured, and an ambulance had already been dispatched. Alex efficiently managed the call, getting all the incident details and even some photos sent from the scene. It turns out Sarah had been driving too fast, veered off the road during a sharp turn, and hit the side of a mountain. All the airbags had deployed, but she had survived. The entire front of the car was smashed, and her leg was trapped. The firefighters were cutting through the car to get her out. What's even crazier is that she had driven over 100 kilometers, and they still had to send her back to our city for surgery. My in-laws were freaking out. It was only after Alex reminded me that I thought to pack some things for the hospital. We stayed connected with the scene live. In the footage they sent, Sarah was finally rescued, looking pale as a ghost, with her right leg a bloody mess. Her first words, though, were, "Where's my phone?" A medical staff member helped her get on an oxygen mask and kindly held up the phone to show her. "Your phone's busted. Your parents and your husband are on the line. Just hang in there." Yeah, her family was all online. But the love of her life is someone else. She pulled off the oxygen mask, pleading again. "I need to make a call." Her voice was so weak, it was like a whisper, and she looked barely alive. Still, she insisted on calling Mark to tell him about the accident. Sadly, she passed out before the call even connected. Their love, though no one else gets it, is truly something else. Alex, feeling for me, mocked, saying, Sarah would love him to death. The call ended, and my in-laws, besides worrying about their daughter, didn't comment on anything else. Nonetheless, I had my woe is me routine going. Over half an hour later, the ambulance rushed in, and Sarah was taken straight into surgery. When we asked about her condition, the doctor just shot us a line. "She's badly injured. Vitals are dropping. She needs further checks." Karma hits fast, doesn't it? I couldn't help but smile a little, leaning on Alex's shoulder, pretending to weep dramatically. My mother-in-law, seeing Sarah's terrible state, suddenly freaked out and grabbed my arm. "Why didn't you stop her? You knew she drank so much, but you let her drive on the highway at night." Of course, the blame lands on me. Sons-in-law are always outsiders. Their daughter can do no wrong. Good thing I had discussed this with Alex right away, preparing for any accusation. Holding up my bandaged hand, I sobbed pitifully. "Mom, I tried to stop her. You saw the footage. She was determined to find Mark. I couldn't stop her." My mother-in-law, despite having no ground to stand on, insisted, "You couldn't call us? If not, why not call the traffic police to report her for drunk driving? They could have stopped her, right?" Alex stood up for me, firmly in my defense. David didn't stop her. She snatched the car keys from him and went on her self-destructive mission alone. And call the cops for drunk driving now. Anyone can play the hindsight hero. How come you didn't report her when you got the call, and there was still time before the accident? With how Sarah treated David, it's surprising he didn't lose it right then. Alex, used to courtroom battles, was in full force. My mother-in-law was at a loss for words, and quickly changed the subject, telling him to butt out. My father-in-law sternly cut in. "Enough! This isn't David's fault. The person's injured. Let's not disturb the doctors." My mother-in-law collapsed on a chair, sobbing and yelling. Everything was fine, but why was Sarah so foolish? It's all thanks to that Mark. She had finally remembered Mark, her chosen target of blame, ranting while no one paid her any mind. Not long after, a doctor came out from surgery. "Sarah's family, we need a signature for the surgery consent. The patient has severe right leg fractures with major vascular injury. Amputation is necessary to save her life. Between her leg and her life, there was no choice. The papers had to be signed for the surgery. I joined my mother-in-law in begging the doctor to save Sarah's life. After hours of surgery, Sarah pulled through and was moved to the ICU for observation. The result, oddly, left me feeling a tad disappointed. Upon hearing the news, I staged another dramatic faint from overwhelming emotion. The doctor claimed I was exhausted, with all the childbirth and stress piling on, and suggested I rest more. Finally, I had the chance to head home. I went to see my son, who was napping over at Rosa's. Back in my room with Alex, I handed him the stock transfer agreement Sarah had signed. "Alex, this is on you now. Let's handle the company stuff first. Now that she's down a leg, Mark might not want her. I worry she'll back out of the divorce. I need to upset Sarah enough that she still agrees to the divorce soon. Ideally, she won't care about anything else." Alex took the agreement, agreeing easily. Then he hugged me, comforting me. "David, if you feel hurt, just let it out and cry. Seeing you so strong and calculating like this actually breaks my heart more." He didn't know about the time I had nearly fallen off a building with my son. Sarah's heart is with Mark. Any love she had for me was just an act. I had always been her fallback, her second choice, a place for those wandering feelings. So there's nothing to be sad about for someone like that. Honestly, she's not worth it. It's better to grieve for the car she wrecked and the company assets she nearly destroyed. Alex, who had known me for over a decade, had probably never seen me this at ease. He looked like a fish, his mouth opening and closing silently, before he finally just gave me a thumbs up. I told him to rest up and help me manage the company transfer. Then, I started drafting a message to my parents. I explained everything, what had happened and what I planned, and asked them to come and help. With all the past troubles I'd kept in mind, managing with a newborn meant everything had to be cautiously planned, always guarded, because when pushed, people can do anything. My parents, who were off on a trip, called me back soon. "We'll be on the first flight back tomorrow." After calming them down and agreeing on the next steps, I sent Rosa $2,000, asking her to take good care of my son. Dawn broke, nearing the time Sarah would have started losing it in my previous life. That vision, I went out, got a new phone and a new SIM card, and headed to the hospital to give Sarah another little nudge. She was back in a regular ward, but wasn't awake yet. My in-laws had aged overnight with worry and looked completely worn out. I hadn't slept either. I was probably in worse shape than they were. "Dad? Mom, losing a leg so suddenly, Sarah is going to have a hard time. We have to support her, help her rebuild her confidence." My mother-in-law adores Sarah, so she naturally agreed. My father-in-law, though not as enthusiastic, still had some decency. He said to me, "This is hard on you, David." I put on a sad face, but inside, I didn't feel a bit sorry. I was just waiting for Sarah to wake up and witness Mark's wrist-slitting drama. Sarah didn't disappoint. After waking up, she crazily yanked off her oxygen mask, trying to sit up and pull out her IV. Her leg probably hadn't recovered from the anesthesia, and she hadn't realized yet that she was now disabled. Her parents held her tightly, with her mom, crying and pleading, "Where are you trying to go? You're badly hurt, you can't be moving around." I quietly reminded her, "Yeah, your leg can't move yet." Following my words, she instinctively tried to move her leg and then widened her eyes. "What's wrong with my leg? Why can't I move my right leg? I can't feel it." Her mom couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying loudly. Sarah managed to get herself up, reaching for her shortened right leg. I timidly explained that the amputation was necessary to save her life. She went even crazier afterward, pounding the bed non-stop. "Why did you agree to the amputation? How do I live without my leg? Huh? Tell me, how do I live?" Ignoring all reasons, she acted like a beast trapped in a cage, crashing around and saying she wanted to die. I grabbed her and, swallowing my pride, tried to reason with her. "Don't you care about your parents? Or me and the baby? And what about Mark? You said he's waiting for you, that he's got only you. If you die, what will he do?" Mentioning Mark, she indeed quieted down. Her parents looked at me approvingly. I took out the new phone and handed it to her. "I got you a new SIM card. Go ahead, contact him." I pretended to cry and peeked through my fingers. True love conquers all. She picked up the phone to call him, but no one answered. Then she checked social media. Mark's new photo was very artistic. He was lying on a white bed, an emptied wine bottle next to him, and blood from his wrist was soaking into the sheets. There was no caption, but it was enough to drive Sarah crazy. She, who just didn't want to live, now wanted to die for love. Her parents had to pin her down like a pig for New Year's. I rolled my eyes discreetly. If an artery was cut, the blood would spray. The bleeding style and volume aren't like that. "I'm sure he's fine. Just rest up. I'll try to find out more, okay?" Sarah, at her wit's end, clung to my words like a lifeline. Her parents probably thought anything to calm her down was good, not caring about my feelings at all. I snapped a couple of photos of Sarah's miserable state, took screenshots of Mark's post, and added pictures from her car accident. Then I tossed them all into their old class group chat with a speedy text. "Hi everyone, it's Sarah's husband, David. Did you all see Mark's photo? Sarah got in a car accident going to see him last night and her right leg got amputated. Now she's threatening to die for him. I'm just asking for any news about Mark. Please let me know." Just as I expected, Mark's post was a clear signal. Their group chat immediately blew up. Some were surprised at my tolerance. Others were just gossiping. I answered whatever they asked, providing the whole story with pictures. I made sure to broadcast their picture-perfect love story fully. Quickly, someone gave me a clue. "Mark's fine, but Sarah's really sad. I'll drop by the hospital to see her." Everyone could smell the drama unfolding, and coincidentally, that person was Sarah's arch-enemy, Chloe, whom I also knew. We're in the same industry, and I've snatched deals from her before. I turned and informed Sarah's parents and her that Mark was fine. Outside the room, I gave Chloe a call from my own phone. Before I could even ask, Chloe snidely said, "Mark's fine. His ex-wife is my cousin. He was sent to the hospital last night but didn't even need stitches. His last 2 social media posts were probably only visible to his ex and to Sarah. He couldn't win back his ex, so he was using Sarah as a backup. They're in a cooling-off period for their divorce, and he's making a last-ditch effort to win her back." Sarah thought she was the main character, and she ended up like this. It's hilarious. Sarah had just been Mark's backup plan. I was furious at myself for picking up trash, my vision going black with anger. "Chloe, are you interested in taking over my company? Let's push through the transfer quickly. Your cousin and my wife both want divorces. We could collaborate nicely together." The company in my hands should be turned into cash. Chloe, my rival, taking it over would save me future trouble. She laughed heartily. "I'd love that. David, you're decisive. Name your price." I chatted with her for about 10 minutes, and it went smoothly. I took a little hit on the price, but gained 2 partners to act out the drama. Non-listed company transfers are simple. It wouldn't take more than a few days. Sarah had signed a transfer agreement without specifying the employer. The official fee is just $3,000 for the process. The rest would go to my brother's account overseas. I had beautifully completed the bulk of the asset transfers, ensuring Sarah wouldn't get a dime, even if we divorced. Back in the hospital room, Sarah remained oblivious, only caring about Mark. "David, how's he doing? Is he okay?" I shook my head. He's perfectly fine, don't worry. He should contact you soon." I was certain William, Mark, would call, because Chloe had told me another tidbit. Her cousin isn't that appealing, and Mark had cheated, leading to their divorce. But her cousin isn't innocent either. She'd quietly settled her pre-marriage assets, and her post-marriage earnings aren't under her name. Mark had been supporting his family, and tallying it all up, he'd still have to give more to Chloe's cousin. That's why he was causing all this trouble, hoping Chloe's cousin would relent, or that he could reel Sarah back in. Chloe promised me that if I told her cousin about Mark's antics, she'd be sure her cousin would be heartless. Mark was surely trying to woo Sarah, who seemed like a good catch. Plus, I was sharing stories in their high school group chat, which Mark could see. The phone call was bound to come. "Sarah, just rest up and take care of yourself. Once you're better, you can do anything you want." My mother-in-law took the chance while Sarah was behaving, trying to talk some sense into her. Sarah nodded, beginning to mourn her lost leg. But then my parents stormed in, furious. "Sarah, did you think I was dead? Bullying my son, David? If you weren't already injured, I'd make sure you were." My dad, a towering man from his military days, had a voice that seemed to shake the entire hospital room. My mom, much smaller, was swinging her purse at Sarah's head. "What happened to the promises you made when you begged to marry our son?" "Divorce!" Dad chimed in immediately. "Yes, divorce. The papers are ready. If you're alive, go to the courthouse right now." Sarah's parents tried to mediate. "We're all family. Let's just discuss this calmly. Those papers were signed in a moment of anger. They don't mean anything." They were probably nervous, thinking about how Sarah had to leave with nothing in the divorce, especially with her now being disabled. But my parents weren't about to be swayed. Sarah wasn't acting right, but she wanted to stay part of the family? With everything on camera, in black and white, she had signed with her fingerprint. There was no backing out now. Just then, Sarah's phone started ringing. All eyes were on her, and the room went suddenly silent. Oblivious, she answered the call excitedly. Mark's low, sobbing voice came through the speaker. "Sarah, why were you so foolish? Does your leg still hurt? You must take care to recover fully. I'm so worried about you, and knowing you still love me makes me want to rush to your side. But you're married. It's not fair to your husband." His words moved Sarah to tears. Eyes red, she nodded repeatedly before responding. "I heard you were getting a divorce, so I signed the papers too. There's no way I'd let you be the third wheel. We've missed too much already. I don't want to miss any more." I smirked inwardly, but my dad had had enough and shouted, "Divorce! Go register it right now!" Sarah's parents tried to say some good words, but seeing their love-struck daughter heading toward madness, they didn't dare provoke her further. Sarah simply replied, "Okay, let's register now. Mark, wait for me." Dad turned on his heel, left the room, and soon returned with some hospital staff. "We'll take the ambulance. I'll pay for it," he said. In no time, we were in the ambulance, with Sarah still on the phone. Her parents, exhausted from the whole ordeal, barely had time to react. They were left far behind as we drove off. Luckily, I had all the necessary documents on me. Without her parents' guidance, just listening to Mark's words fueled her urgency to divorce. More than mine ever could. Going to file for divorce in an ambulance? It must have been a rare sight for the staff. As we got fast-tracked without a single hitch, the process was so smooth, I almost couldn't believe it. It said that people who cheat go through a kind of addiction, much like substance withdrawals. If the original spouse wants a divorce, it's key to capitalize on this period to negotiate. I never understood it before, but now I definitely saw it clearly. Thank goodness. With the receipt in hand, I told Sarah, "The car is totaled. The house is in my name, and I'll be changing the locks. The savings and our son stay with me. I'll pack your things and leave them at your parents' door. Let's not bother each other anymore. Mark should be there soon to care for you, so I won't bother you at the hospital. Just a heads up, I added. Don't tell Mark you're leaving with nothing. He's worried enough about you. There's no need to stress him out about everyday things, right? Sarah mistook my words for kindness and, showing a bit of conscience, said, David, I'm sorry. I quickly waved it off, establishing boundaries. Sarah's parents tried following us by car, but the ambulance was long gone by the time they got there. I joined my parents in our car afterward, leaving them no time to talk. That day, I arranged for a cleaner to pack all of Sarah's things and sent them away. Then I moved back in with my parents. The house was already in my name, so there was no need to transfer anything. I reset the locks and listed it on several platforms, well below market price. Even Alex, who has seen plenty of divorce cases, slapped his knee and said, David, that was slick, fast and satisfying. But there's still the cooling off period. Sarah might try to hold on. Do you have any plans? That's exactly what bothers me. If not, why would I rush to tie up all these loose ends? Sarah might be irrational, but her folks are still clear-headed. Once Chloe takes over the company, they won't stay calm. Alex, can you loan me a couple of your people for help? After getting everything in order, a strange emptiness set in. It felt like I was waking up from a long, terrible dream. Everything had changed in just 2 days. I cried on my mom's shoulder, recounting the tales from my past life. That awful vision, as if they were just nightmares. My parents were just as upset, wanting to confront Sarah. Afterward, I took it easy, spending quality time with my family. Contentment was an understatement. I occasionally got updates from Alex's team and from Chloe. Once the cooling-off period ended, Chloe's cousin got her divorce efficiently. Mark ended up flying over, tending to Sarah with extreme care. Days later, Chloe took over Sarah's parents' company, by which point they were panicking. Alex's team called me. David, Sarah's parents are push-pulling her to contest for more assets, keeping Mark completely in the dark. A lawsuit might be the next step. I was mentally prepared for litigation. I ended the call and reached out to Alex. Alex, I don't want to waste time. Let's file the lawsuit and get it scheduled. If Sarah agrees to a settlement, we can always withdraw. They came looking for me several times at the old house, but had no luck. Finally, they showed up at my parents' place. My dad picked up a broom from the yard and yelled, You've got the nerve to show your faces here. Get lost. Next time you come around, I'm going to smack you. I guess they camped outside a few more times, but I was laying low and not showing my face. The day the cooling-off period officially ended, Sarah came by. David, I don't believe you sold the company for just $5 grand. It was valued at least $12 million, and with the money from selling your house, it should be at least $17 million. I don't want much. Just give me $7 million and we can sort out the papers today. We're not strangers. Don't be so heartless. I gave a cold smile. Did you completely forget about the house money that came from my parents and their investment in the company? Speaking of which, did we forget your parents' house and our joint assets? There was no way to talk anymore. I turned to walk away, waiting for the lawsuit. I called Chloe. Chloe, can you and your sisters send out that last batch of stuff? Chloe chuckled. I've been waiting for this drama for ages. It's going to be great, I promise. That day, Chloe explained the company situation to Mark. Then she told me all about it. Mark immediately got into a fight with Sarah, throwing a tantrum. Sarah had to admit that she was broke. Who knows what Chloe's cousin had promised Mark, but he thought there was still a chance for a reunion. Without missing a beat, Mark turned on Sarah, shouting, Pathetic cripple! You're broke as hell and you still want me to marry you? Shameless! You're empty and clean as hell, and you tricked me into serving you for free for days. Every time we did it, it made me want to puke. And still, Sarah tried to salvage things. I've filed for divorce. I can get the property back, and your $5 million dowry won't be short. Mark, as long as you love me, I'll work myself to death to support us. Mark rolled his eyes to the sky. Love's worth nothing. Sarah's mom couldn't stand it and jumped in. But even with mother and daughter united, they couldn't win. Sarah finally learned what her Prince Charming was really like, and it left her dumbfounded. Mark coolly taunted, "You're good at imagining stuff. My Facebook status was for my ex, and you bought it." When she heard the real story of the night of his crash, Sarah went wild. "I'll strangle you," she yelled, sprang up from her wheelchair, and lunged at Mark. She missed her mark and hit the floor. She got kicked by Mark. "A cripple trying to play boss? You don't have a mirror? Not even a puddle, huh? Can't you see your own reflection?" Chloe's story was vivid. I regretted missing the show. Sarah sulked for over a month. With the trial in 2 weeks, she started sending me long messages, seeking forgiveness, reminiscing, and missing our son. I didn't block her, just to keep the evidence, but I read them for fun. She got bolder, writing more each day, each one different from the last. Then she tried some old-school drama, soaking in the rain outside my place for a night, and sending me pictures from a hospital bed. I sent the pics to Chloe and Alex to enjoy. After that, she vanished. Recalling her cruelty in my past life, that vision, I was wary. I messaged Alex. "Watch out for Sarah losing it. She seems mentally off sometimes." On the court day, Sarah broke down crying. "David, I love you. I don't want a divorce. Judge, our feelings aren't broken. I'll work to fix them." Alex played the evidence. Videos from our son's first-month celebration. Photos of her with Mark during our cooling-off period while staying in her parents' home. He ended with Mark's own words on the dowry discussion, saying that being with her made him sick. I nearly laughed out loud. Her attorney showed a video claiming the agreement was signed while she was drunk and that she wasn't clear-headed, claiming it was invalid. Alex just slapped down a mountain of videos. Their feelings weren't just broken. They were shattered. Sarah stared right at me. "David, did you ever love me?" I smiled, calm as a breeze. "I loved you." She laughed like a lunatic, tears streaming down her face. I agreed to the divorce. Walking out of the court, I tilted my face up and shielded my eyes with my hand. Bathed in the sunlight, I felt completely relaxed, at last. My son and I could finally start fresh. Then a pat on the shoulder startled me. Chloe stood next to me, her smile radiant. "Congrats on the divorce. Want to give Sarah one final blow?" "What?" "Marry her arch-nemesis, have your son call her Mommy, and drive her completely crazy." "Arch-nemesis? You're nuts." "Hey, I'm serious. Or you could consider dating me with marriage in mind. It wouldn't pack quite the same punch, though." "We'll see." She was interesting, plus a catch. But I wasn't in a rush to date, much less marry. I'd let time handle things. Much later, news about Sarah emerged. Both she and Mark were dead. It wasn't a love suicide. It was more like a murder-suicide. Chloe said that Mark realized her cousin wouldn't take him back. She had already married someone else. His life was average, but it was enough to drive Sarah jealous. She probably blamed those posts from Mark for losing her leg and ending up with nothing. People always tend to blame others. That afternoon, I got Sarah's farewell letter. Basically, it said she was blind and heartless, that she couldn't see Mark for who he really was, nor could she understand her own heart. She realized that I was her true love. But it was too late. Living was painful, and she begged for my forgiveness before she went. A first love's sweet memory turned dirty, treating me like a stand-in. Now the untouchable is suddenly the love of a lifetime. Nonsense.